This is a really good question from Diana. Gavin, I would love for you to answer this because you in these books have shared some real testimonies of people who have been transformed and you've counseled them pastorally. Diana is asking, she's a mental health counselor, she's a Christian counselor, specifically, she says, who works in a secular high school. I have many who are bisexual, transgender, etc., who've been hurt, very hurt by Christians. How do I keep my job but also share the truth?
Well, that's an increasingly asked question and difficult to maintain in the workplace as a Christian. How, in an age, I think, where Christian freedom of speech, freedom of religion is even being taken away. And I think Christians are being called out on these issues. These are the hot button issues where if you speak on them publicly, you can lose friends, lose a job. To just backpedal just a second, is the LGBTQ activist political ideology, if you like, has convinced the culture that gay is good, that transgender is good. And when you convince the culture that it's morally good, the culture's convinced of that. If you say with all the love in the world, no, it's not, then you're not good, you're a bigot, you're unloving. So all of a sudden now, Christians are afraid because they're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of being isolated and vilified, etc., etc. And so there's a lot of empathy there with fellow Christians. What we want to do with these books is strengthen Christians in the Word of God to see where these foundations come from and actually stand on that. Now, you need biblical wisdom. You need wisdom in general to deal with different people in a secular workplace. In front of a big group, it might not be the right time to address it, but a one-on-one discussion with someone, it can be the time to address the issues where people are talking to you about their identity, issues of sexuality, problems. Let me offer you what the Bible teaches and what I believe is the right way. Ultimately, here's the thing, is you want people to be saved first. That's the key. We want people to be saved. And then transformation can happen. We ultimately, with non-Christians, don't want to necessarily focus on their homosexuality, transgender, bisexuality straight away, but that might actually be the hook that we can actually connect Jesus to. And so we have to be skillful in bringing their identity issues back to the person of Christ and what he can do for them in terms of saving them. And of course, you are going to face opposition. I just think pastorally, we need to have some discernment, and we do make this in the book. You've got, let's say, take transgenderism. You've got those who experience transgender dysphoria, if you like, gender dysphoria, and they believe they are trapped in the wrong body, as it were. They believe there's two sexes, but they're trapped in the wrong body. There are those who are gender fluid that think that gender is on a spectrum. So that's slightly different to the one who thinks there's two sexes, but they're trapped in the wrong body. And then you've got the activist that's really pressing the agenda, whether that's transgender or homosexuality. So there's three different categories here, and pastorally you might deal with them slightly differently, though all are sinful in essence. And if I look at the letter of Jude, at the end of Jude there, and I'll just read the text, it says, have mercy on those who doubt. So there are some who are having doubts and confusion. We need to have mercy on them. Others, you save others by snatching them out of the fire. These are people that are going down the track and they need to be snatched by the fire. So there needs to be a real urgency here, maybe a bit more firmness. And then to others, show mercy with fear, hating even the garment stained with flesh. These are so entrenched in the lifestyle that you need to go in with mercy again, but be very careful you're not drawn into affirming that lifestyle. And I think that the church in general has softened on these issues, and we've even in some areas affirmed that lifestyle. And there's no discrepancy between the truth and love. And so when you get back to pronouns, and there I'll finish, it is unloving and untruthful to actually use the pronouns of that person if they're saying you must use them. And I can feel great sympathy for say parents who have a child and they're thinking they'll run away from me if they don't. So they're almost holding the parents over a barrel and saying, if you don't, like a rebellious teenager, if you don't, I'll run away from home. Well, then what do? You show more allegiance to your child or to Christ. And in that, you must show more allegiance to Christ, else we're not loving the child, we're not honoring God.